Hi, welcome back to another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends, the super awesome podcast show where me, your artist friend Chris Dyer, talks to all his amazing creative friends. Today, I'm at Secret Dreams Music and Art Festival in Ohio. I'm going to talk to my good old friend Gavinger, who's a visionary artist that I know for many years, but also is playing a big role out here as art director of the festival. So we're going to learn all about what it takes to produce the art side of an event like this. It's going to be very interesting, and I hope you will enjoy. Blessings!
While the world is burning, got to make amends. Walk on the sunny side with a positive lens. Talks about passion between a women and a man. Chris Dyer and his creative friends, darling. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Enunciatate. There is so much a man can tell you, so much he can say. But love remains.
All right, we're going to push through all these sounds.
All
Gavinger!
right.
Woo!
A nice little beep beep. It's like a metronome for us.
Yeah, totally. We even got a little crowd here,
Yay,
some happy
friends.
artists.
There are a lot of friends around here.
Yeah, totally. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah?
I feel, it's like the part of the experience where there's like a total exhaustion element from putting so much into it, but then also just like being so energized by everything around happening and just.
Did you party last night?
Yeah.
Are you hangover right now?
A little bit. There was this whole thing. There's this our new mascot for Secret Dreams. I can't talk about the new mascot. It's unofficial.
Okay.
Somebody found at the box office.
Okay, nice.
Cut that from the interview.
Sweet. So where are we? What is Secret Dreams? Why Secret Dreams, not Sacred Dreams? What is to be kept a secret?
So Secret Dreams is kind of the initial origin of it is like having this idea where it's kind of something that's like something that you talk about but never really like act on the actions, like something that you hold inside you. And it's kind of about the activation of that, like those dreams that you hold, those like truest dreams that you have, and the fulfillment of those, and like bringing those things that you hold inside you that are such a part of you, and like making that a reality, making that like the truest part of you.
Nice. And this is in Ohio. It's the second year. Who made this and why?
So this was made by a group of friends and I, essentially. Really a lot of people that I've known from this very venue, like growing up about 2 hours away. This was kind of like the home ground. This is the first festival here in 2012 that really set me off. The first festival that was, really had the vibe of like not being a huge production necessarily. I mean, granted, you can still be a huge production, but still have like an intimacy level to it. Have an event that's really well curated. It's not just about packing the venue out, bringing a huge crowd in, having a giant party. It's about the full experience of it and having like those enriching elements, like not just having music, but having the art and the culture, and really celebrating that, the full like breadth of everything beautiful that happens here. The stuff that takes it from being a concert to something that's really an experience where there's something for everyone. There's a spot for everyone to explore, whether you want to come and you want to go to the yoga tent and have that and find community there, whether you're an artist and you want to come here and paint as an artist and meet other artists, whether you're into fashion, like we try and appeal to that kind of stuff, and try and provide those niches where there's really something for everyone, and like it really provides an opportunity to explore yourself and kind of see where you gravitate towards, and find yourself there, and then grow from that. Like find your spot and then grow in it.
Nice. But it's still a pretty good attendance, right? What do you think? How many people are here?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say the exact numbers. I try and stay removed from the total production side and that side of things. Just because that's like not my purview.
Right.
I just try and make the best experience. I would say roughly like 10,000, I would think.
Yeah, it's a nice medium number.
Yeah.
It's not like a 40,000 electric forest situation, but it's also not like a 2,000 pyro festival. It's kind of like in the middle.
It is, and we definitely have growth on our mind here, and that's been the way that we're trying to throw it. Everyone who's on the dream team is like, we've been working events from those ones that are 1,000 people and horrible chaotic production and small and whatever, and just unofficial, more like a homey thing. And then we've all worked those, and then we've also done these massive events, and so we've built it as a small, heartful thing with the systems in place to really grow over the coming years. Like, this is really something that we're all pouring into as a passion project. Really like sinking all of our skills into. It's all people that we all kind of started off kind of looking at, and when the Wicks go pro is kind of where we're at with it now.
Yeah. Well, I know you as an artist, and from my memory or consciousness, you're the only artist that now is an art director. How is that? Like, is the fact that you now direct people like yourself give you a little like an inside look of how to do it properly? How is the role of being an art director?
It's a role that I kind of fell into out of like seeing a necessity for it. And at first it was just a matter of seeing a festival that didn't necessarily have an art program and wanting to just get my artist homies out and just be like, hey, let me set up a tent. Let me, bring 10 friends and we'll set up an art tent and we'll live paint and we'll improve the experience that way, and add that element. And then, working in that world and experiencing different speed bumps and roadblocks along the way, it led me to an understanding of how the systems work within this culture, and bridging that divide between production and live art, and really having like the proper systems in place for it so that everything can run smoothly. Learning that has basically created an opportunity to fill a need that the festival scene has. And I filled that need, and there are several other artists who take similar roles, who are like artists and have stepped up for the community. Like Anya Amador is a great example of that. Going from being an artist and doing this, full time as a living, really sinking fully into it, and then really recognizing that need and then really leaning into it. So it's been fun because while there are like few like artist and director people, we're all kind of like linking up and butting our heads together now and figuring out how we can like really integrate the system and integrate the community that's in place, and like, provide the opportunities for artists, not only to like do their thing, but also for artists to like really be supported and to thrive. Because like I want to see all my artist friends thrive. It's not easy to be an artist. You have to really pour yourself into it fully. So like when you see your friends that are fully pouring themselves into being an artist, it's like, you want to support them, and so that's like a fulfillment. It's a big fulfillment for sure.
Nice. It gives you a good purpose and feel like you're doing something that helps people.
Totally.
Is it like stressful, or like, I know the position of a curator can make you as many enemies as friends, because people are like, he should have done this, he should have gotten me, and what's up with this thing and that thing? Is that like a weird thing that all of a sudden, you being an artist now, you gotta like pick and choose and shit?
Yeah, I mean, it can be hard to, like, as far as picking and choosing when you're curating a lineup. And ultimately it's, I work with the team to curate everything, just because I do like want to be removed from that situation, just because, out of, we got like 500 applications for this event. And of course, there's a lot of friends on it.
Right.
And then
that must be so awkward.
Yeah, well, there's like, you want to put on the people who are really showing up and the people who've been there forever, but then you also want to provide like an experience that keeps people really interested in like rotating artists and bringing in new people, not only having people who've been really established for a long time, but also somebody where, they may have only been painting for 2 years, but they're like out there and they're fucking crushing it and they're just getting it. And, it's good to recognize that. And while there may be, some hurt feelings along the way for people who didn't get accepted, it's ultimately like, it's a growth thing. It's a thing that I've had to come to terms with, for sure, understanding the removal from that, the removal of myself in the effort of making it something greater than myself, because it is so much greater than myself, like what's going on here.
Still, there's like a ton of artists on this one. This is probably like the music festival that has the most artists, right? Like, do you know more or less the number of how many muralists, gallery showers, roaming artists?
Yeah, the total number this year is about 60. And then that's just our official artists. I would say half the plus ones that we give to the artists are also artists. You know, we have 27 murals painted this year. We have 27 murals from last year decorating the site. Then on top of that, I think close to 30 installation artists with 40 installations. So it's really like the artistry and like the people who have art here, like in different mediums, is huge. The creative department is the biggest department of the festival. That and the volunteers, you know, who put their hard work in. It's like between that, it's like those are the biggest programs.
Whoa,
yeah,
that's awesome. I imagine also probably like the budget gets spread very thin when there's that many artists. So do you think it's like, I guess you've taken your choice, but like in this case, you'd rather get as many people here, maybe on a lower budget, than to have less artists with a higher budget?
Totally, and that was a change from last year to this year. Last year we brought out close to 80 official artists, and you know, that was the thing, being kind of spread thin. So this year we really tried to make the best opportunities for people, whether we try and provide at least the plus one and some food to help like cover the costs and whatnot, but then also providing mural opportunities that are budgeted. It's something where you can have this big piece of art. For some people, it's an opportunity to try that, and at least cover supplies and give something. It's it's hard to be able to really pay everyone their worth. Really, like being an artist and understanding the worth of artist time and what we go through to be here. So I definitely have that in mind, and like I'm trying to provide everyone a real opportunity to do it. It's like a lot of people who were coming from far away, it was like, all right, so you're gonna do a mural and then you have an opportunity in the gallery. And then, some people were just more gallery leaning, some people were just more mural leaning. And then like roaming creators, those are all people I've selected that like, I know their system kind of to where I know that they can maximize that opportunity. And yeah.
Nice. Tell me about Gordy and the Gallery Society.
Gordy and the Gallery Society, Gordy, Lou, Dave Doss, have been absolutely huge and absolutely instrumental in creating successful art programs. This has been a big coming together for us. I've actually joined the Gallery Society recently. We never made like an official announcement or anything.
What does that mean? What is the Gallery Society?
So the Gallery Society is essentially a collective of people bringing artwork to events. Not only that, but also curating events. They throw a lot of events up in Detroit. There was one that they brought me up for on 420 this year. It was called the 420, and then a month later I came back because I had so much fun. But they took over this tangent gallery.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of like a burner compound, and did multiple stages, like a little mini festival.
Yeah. I painted there ages ago with them too.
Tangent. That's right.
Yeah, I got a mural there.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know the spot. So they've been throwing events there. More small scale events. I think, specifically like with my involvement and where I see the company moving forward is really going into something like this, and like curating art experiences at events and creating a really nice system for that. It's great to be able to have a team that you can like really rely on for stuff. Knowing that I can curate an art program and have the most amazing, beautiful gallery that I can, have someone else be responsible for managing. Of course, I'll be there to help. And
nice.
And
so you're part of that company now?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So like the Gallery Society is kind of like a Tri-13 or a MOVA, and now there's like different brands that bring galleries to festivals and all other events.
Totally. Like and it absolutely feels like kind of like the next generation of like a Tri-13 thing. Kind of getting the artists together. It's kind of one of the bigger collection points of artists, and it's like yeah, it feels like that's the kind of hub where this movement is pushing forward right now. So it's exciting to like make that tangible and you know, put a name behind it and put a purpose behind it and have that thing behind all the stuff that we've been doing. And
Right. Well, you know, as the scene grows, as there's more artists, as festivals require more of us, hopefully, there will be also be the requirement of more groups that offer galleries, not just one or two, but several in different parts of the country to, you know, offer perhaps their own flavor of that and their own lineups and stuff. You know, hopefully not competitive, but, you know, creating together a bigger visionary art scene.
I think this whole scene and the art scene in particular is really like in the spirit of collaboration, and that's been one of the things that really has. That's why I'm here. Like the things that kept me, the thing that has kept me going to music events, music and art events, is the art community, and being able to go really like anywhere, and having that tribe and having that sense of collaboration, like growing with each other and teaching each other. It's a super important thing, and I think it's kind of rare to have a place that's so like uplifting for each other. I think that's a huge focus. It's like lifting each other up and sharing techniques and like, oh, you could do this, you could try this.
Well, it's great, you know, as we grow a little bit older, or, you know, maybe a little less young, to use better terms, we get a little bit more professional representation, so also the movement becomes a little bit less, you know, festival wook styles, and hopefully we'll be, well, we don't have to be accepted by the world of art, but, you know, we can just present ourselves in, you know, a cleaner way. Does these roles that you're taking get in the way of your own art career? Is it something that competes with your time?
You know, I really don't think it does. I think, you know, the way that I've kind of settled into my art career is like a very, very all over the place kind of thing, like between different mediums. It's kind of like another medium that like uses a different part of my brain, and it helps my process, which is kind of like jumping around like a mad person between 100 tasks and kind of like plucking away at this and plucking away at this. You know, hopefully less plucking away at this and more like plucking away at this.
That's the idea, huh?
Yeah, that's definitely the thing. But you know, it's I don't think it has it all, because I see this as my art. You know, it's I don't necessarily see my art as, you know, my paintings or my furniture or anything like that. I see any act of creation, especially looking at people who really like blow my mind as an artist, like you know, Carrie Thompson.
Yeah.
So I just really recently discovered his work at a
Really?
music festival, and he built like a permanent structure for the art gallery.
Yeah.
And I've been getting into carpentry a lot more lately, and seeing that kind of stuff, like seeing real like space building kind of stuff, and you know, creating atmosphere, creating a whole thing. It's like,
To me, the Carrie thing is very interesting because now he's such a installation dude, and he's so good at it, and he's in Meow Wolf and stuff. But to me, he's a painter. Have you seen his paintings?
Yeah.
He's such a good painter. I'm like, what the fuck? Why would such a good painter stop painting to do this other thing? But then he got so good in that other thing, and he always tells me like, one day, Chris, I'm gonna just kind of like build my Costa Rica spot and have enough money, and then I'll go back to painting, which is my true passions. But you know, as you say, art's not just like, oh, my painting and that's that. Your art's life. Your life is your biggest painting, and you can have different branches to the tree to express yourself. Yeah, so good for you creating a new branch to your tree of expression. So where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. So
Oh, you're
like,
from here.
yeah, like 2 hours south of here.
Okay.
So this was, you know, I grew up in Cincinnati, spent most of my life there. You know, went to through growing up and then through college. And then after college, I was kind of like looking at where to go in the world and where to set my roots. I knew that I needed to get out. It was like, you know, small town boy with like,
Abby is asking me to ask you, why do you leave Cincinnati?
why did I leave Cincinnati?
Yeah.
No comment.
No comment. All right. Right. So after Cincinnati, where do you go?
No, I do have a comment. Cincinnati, you know, it was an amazing place, and it's definitely a place with some great community, and I had so many, you know, and still have so many amazing people there. But it was really just like a small or big fish, small pond kind of thing. I
Right.
felt like I'd really tapped my opportunities there, and I really wanted to be around a creative community that inspired me. So I looked at a lot of places. Like Denver was an idea, Portland was an idea, Asheville was an idea. So I kind of thought on it for a while. Chicago was an idea. I moved to Chicago for a little bit. Not a city boy.
No.
No, I'm a country boy.
Okay.
Um, so that was kind of, that experience led me away from Denver and to Asheville, where it's got the kind of same vibe as Denver, where there's, there's food, there's music, there's art, there's community. It kind of, led me there, and I've been very happy with the community there and kind of settling in there. Like it's very, there's a lot that it offers, and it's a great hub, for just like traveling from.
Nice.
But yeah, it's very homey. It's very welcoming.
Cool.
It feels like home.
I was just there for my first time, and it was beautiful. And it seems like it's not just Asheville, but all these like other mini towns around that you can get even more country if you want to, and then get back in the middle. So there's like a whole art scene in Asheville, right?
There is, yeah. There's there's kind of always been an art scene in Asheville. Like it's been a thing. I think it was more like folk art previously. And then, so there's a lot of that's represented like downtown. If you go to like the big galleries downtown, like the touristy areas, it's a lot of folk art, just like mountain landscapes. Then on the other end, there's like the whole keep Asheville weird thing. And folk art doesn't seem super weird to me. So now there's areas blossoming, like River Arts District, which is really like where a lot of our community is kind of setting down roots, and like, creating a home, a hub, creating different galleries, showing work.
It's very street art mode, right?
Oh, for sure. Well, River Arts District is like old, I don't know, like warehouses, I guess. There's the first studio I got in Asheville, actually, it was like they just reconstructed it in this big warehouse, did this amazing remodel on it. And, there's like a big drain on my floor, and they're like, what's that? I'm like, what's that from? And they're like, oh, this is an old cannery, I think is what it is, but it's like that's where they used to drain pig's blood. And I was like, oh, that's great energy for my studio. But yeah, it's like a train yard.
That's satanic, shamanic rituals.
Right? It's pagan.
Yeah, great. A lot of energy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's like a reclamation, because it's like a street art hub, and that's always kind of been like a different community that I haven't understood as much. And that's very much present there, and that's like a big part of the area, is like respecting that street art, respecting the roots of it, but then also, growing into something where it's, providing space for something, more art like this that's like kind of seen as counterculture a lot of times, seen as maybe lowbrow in some sense. And providing a space for that to be, uplifted.
Yeah, totally. So there's a lot of visionary artists there. Any shout outs or friends who you appreciate from that area?
So many. There's, so I moved down there with one of my previous partners, Mike Hancock. We moved down there and, decided that we were going to split up shortly after that. And, he kind of helped me make the move down there, and he's an amazing artist in person. Ashley, who I lived with and pandemicked with, Ashley Spiro. So that was we had a lockdown moment, and really dove deep, and continued to, and the art garden folks, Annie Bennett and Jack Henry, Dylan Andico, some people who are moving there recently, like Elias Hartford, Mr. Elias, he just moved out there. Yeah, it's interesting being there, because there's such an art community, and there's really so many that I could never fully shout out, all the amazing artists from all the niches and different mediums, whether it's tie-dyers or, ceramicists or glass blowers, or there's just like, yeah, there's so many, and musicians, and it's just like, it's such a high concentration of artsy people who give a fuck, people who are like really pouring themselves into their passion, and that's like what art is for me. It's like pouring passion into something, some sort of act of creation, like like food. You see somebody who's like a really good chef, like really curating stuff, like that's art.
So Asheville is at like a nice sweet point where still a lot of creatives are going there and it's growing enough, but it's not gonna kind of like explode. Like it seems like, for example, when I go to Denver, it's almost like it's just like oversaturated and too much. Or maybe that's just my perspective and I'm wrong, but that hasn't happened to Asheville. Do you think like too many creatives is too
I
much,
don't know.
or
I mean,
everything is welcome and it's let's just fill all
it's
we
like
can?
it's like a small town thing where it's like, people who have been there longer can be like, oh, people need to stop moving here. It's ruining the town. And I've been there 5, 6 years now, and it's something that I want to see expand. I'm excited to see people like move there and growing that hub. I think it's definitely going to grow as a city and as a hub. I think the reputation's already growing kind of around the country and around the world, hopefully, as a place to visit. But I don't know. I don't think it'll expand in the traditional sense, just because it's surrounded by the oldest mountains in the world, like
Right.
nestled. It's really like nestled.
It's like a barrier, huh?
Yeah,
Like
it's-
even an energetical barrier. There's like, okay, you can get gentrified a little bit, but you can't just like expand it to the tits.
Yeah, it's like the city is hugged by
Uh-huh.
the mountains, and that's like the same hug that I feel every time I return there. Every time I'm there, it's like the mountains are hugging you in Asheville.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on you and your community. It seems very lovely, little visionary art and all arts hub. I hope it continues to stay pure and good and give you nice hugs. So we met at COSM 2017. You came to the skateboard art workshop that I offered there back then. Do you have some memories of that retreat, and who were you back then compared to who are you today? Like I remember a young, enthusiastic little dread boy ready to rock.
Yeah.
And now it seems like you've grown into a man doing big things. Like some reflections of these
Yeah.
short years.
I mean, that was definitely in a point in my life where I'd really had kind of really started to lean in and give it my all to being a full-time artist and really developing skills and picking up things from people that I admired, picking up skills and having that like hunger. It was a very hungry point of my life. Really feeling the passion for my work and really wanting to push and push and push. I am still absolutely that person. But I don't know. I think it's yeah. I don't know. It's refined. It's change. We all change. Like the pressure cooker of life. We're the same person, but we are a different person. That I remember. It was an introduction to like a community intentional art learning setting that was hugely inspiring. Like having that platform to do what we do out here, where we're like kind of teaching each other, but to really put like a curriculum behind it, put a formality behind it, and really sit down and like, hey, we're gonna be here for a week, and we're gonna sit down and we're gonna make art, and then we're gonna eat some food, and then we're gonna make art, and then we're gonna go to bed.
Like speech and
Yeah.
and just connecting to the people in the class. Like I'm teacher, whatever, space holder, but we're all learning from each other. And it like this whole like spiritual artist thing is such a rare thing that like even just putting 10 to 15 of those together and you're like, oh my god, you're like me, this is so cool, like what are we doing here?
Yeah, and that's what COSM always has been for me. Like it's always just the most amazing like connections with artists, from that experience, from experiences after that. Like I've gone there and live painted for some of their full moon things, and it's always just like such a beautiful connection of people, and it's really like inspired me in a huge way for like future purpose. Like I have a house and land in Asheville, and kind of my big push, and I'll probably be like kind of stepping back from doing a lot of events next year, and really focusing on doing something that's like COSM. That is a basis where it's build up a studio, build up some like temporary living situations, and providing that, because I got so much from that experience that like I want to, and I see the need for, and I think the community in a lot of different pockets of our community see the need for those grounded spots where you can really get together and, especially for an event. Like if I were to invite somebody out to come do an event in Nashville, and I want you to come out, but then also provide an opportunity where, hey, you can come here and you have this grounded base to operate from. You can come out and just stay and hang out, or hey, you want to come out and teach a class and provide an opportunity to connect that community while still like providing success for everyone and like
So it's
providing.
like an art residency spot to start with, at least.
Yeah, like a residency or just like for small classes. Like I envision it being something where somebody could come out and stay. The teacher would stay and then maybe like sleeping for 10 or so, to where you could I don't know if I'd ever want to lead like into the full aspect of Cosm where there's like a full-time staff.
Yeah, that's like the
and
next level.
It is, and it adds a big element to it, I think. I'm kind of like, all right, everybody come for a week and then go away.
Yeah,
And leave me home.
Your whole life doesn't have to be about that.
Yeah, totally.
It's just so expensive. You'd have to be like paying all this money to keep all these buildings. Like, not every has to go like that big.
But it's one of those things. Like, I'm sure it's that'll be something that I have to confront, because if I want to have people out for a week to come out and learn, it's like everybody's got to eat. So it's like, are we ordering pizza every night? Are we making chicken nuggets?
Maybe it will like organically grow into something bigger if it's meant to be, but one step at a time.
Yeah.
Like even they started in their apartment in Brooklyn, just with their homies. It's interesting to like go to a place where something beautiful was shared to you, and that makes you wanna share to others your own magic. That to me makes me feel like the world has hope. Because you're not the only one, like I know so many friends want to be like, I want to do a mini Cosm too, and we all want to just share this good vibe. And I'm sure by us doing that, there'll be other younger artists like, well, that was amazing, now I want to create a different spore, and they're like bloop, 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 bloop. And we keep on spraying the love. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for being part of it. So at that retreat, you were painting with markers. Is that like your main medium? Has you evolved in your medium? How's your art evolved? Maybe from there or from before? Like, what's your journey with your medium and your art?
I think the all marker thing was like derived from stubbornness. And like, I have a more design drawing background. I think other than your class, I've never taken a painting class.
Okay.
In my life, I've always done like all my trainings in design, like technical drawing. I was always like colored pencil. So I kind of like they leaned into my initial aesthetic of like really crisp and like proportional, like all like golden ratio and like the design fundamentals essentially. So it lends into that. But then it would be like I'd be trying to do stuff, and there was like before switching from markers into a lot of paintbrushes, it was in this heavy like pointillism phase, which was just, it was like, all right, I want a white fade, so I was like sit there and for 6 hours, which is nice and meditative and all that good stuff. But then it's like I could do that for 6 hours, or I could go like and get like roughly the same effect.
Right.
Just be able to convey ideas better. At this point, I don't really use the markers a whole lot, except for my furniture stuff. I like them for that because they're pick up and play, which is an appeal. It's not like you have to get your paintbrush and your water and everything.
It's like still drawing.
Yeah, totally.
It's like drawing with paint.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick off the cap and you can just go. And they're it's nice for that. And I love it for that, but there's something that I've found in the brush and like, and not only in the brush is like trying to render stuff, but just like the beauty of a brush stroke and the way that the brush can really show like the motion and how you can,
the push and the pull, the fins and the fix, and like the waves of energy.
Totally.
As opposed to the flatness of marker, which you can thicken up in some parts too, but it's a little. It's different.
It's more rigid, and one of my art rival actually, and one of my best friends, Logan Walden.
Art rival?
Yeah, he's.
Whoa,
he's
you guys
my,
like fight when
he's
you're.
He's my worst enemy. I hate him so much.
No.
But he was one of the ones who started painting alongside me in Cincinnati. His murals are over there actually with Guardian Aliens. But he defined my style at the time as being finite. And I think that's the thing, like markers are very finite. Every mark is like intentional and there, and it is what it is. It is that mark. And there's like a level of infiniteness to a brushstroke where there's, like these like infinite nuances and less defined, and it can like lead into a kind of like decalcomania where like the brain, you make these marks and the brain like puts the pieces together kind of, and
Yeah, it's got more personality.
yeah.
So you still fighting with Logan? Or is
No.
it a joke?
Yeah.
Really?
No, it's yeah, it's a joke for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, we're really great buddies. We actually just did a painting together because we'd like been been doing our thing alongside, and he's I say he's my rival because we push each other on, and we keep going.
Healthy competition.
Exactly. Yeah, and we play it up because we're both silly little goobers.
Yeah.
But it is fun. It is fun when we're like around people who don't know, and they're like, "Do you guys really hate each other?" And we'll scream at each other and play it up just because I don't know, it's fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, we all need a little of that in our life, you know.
Yeah.
It pushes us forward. It's just like the fun video game
Yeah.
that we're playing. So in the same way you've evolved in your medium, you've also evolved or changed canvases. Like, well, that workshop was skateboards, but it seems like it was a line because it seems like you're not just your traditional canvas painter. You paint these grandfather clocks, I believe, and jackets and clothing. What's your relationship to a canvas or a surface to paint?
My relationship with a canvas has always been kind of interesting. Really, the thing that got me into like this career, there was a little bit of art class in high school, but when I started like live painting, that was really like when I see the start of like my art career. And I used to bring leather jackets to shows and a mannequin, and I would stretch the jacket over the mannequin and paint on that. And then, it came to a point where it was almost like hard to convey the ideas that I had because of like the limit of the canvas.
Right.
And so I started stretching my own leather canvases. I would use like the material that they make boat seats out of.
Okay.
Marine vinyl. And I would stretch that. And then it got to a point where that was kind of a royal pain in the ass to have to make my canvases all the time. So I switched to a traditional canvas. And I still do a lot of canvas paintings for sure. But then, doing murals and like kind of moving beyond the traditional canvas. It's like really there's so many things that you could paint on. So many like different ideas. The first one was like a radio. It was like an old antique radio. That's the first psychedelic, as I've come to call them. And I don't know. It's something that's very very fulfilling and like has a purpose to it. Because it's like there's so much of that stuff out there. So many objects that are kind of like discarded. There's this very like discarding culture. So it's nice to be able to like give things new life and purpose, especially like with the grandfather clocks. It's funny because when I'll make a post and it gets like some crazy reach, inevitably like the trolls come out of the woodwork, and inevitably everybody is a grandfather clock enthusiast, and everybody knows everything about grandfather clocks and how dare I ruin an antique. But in reality, people are throwing these things away. They're begging you. They're saying, please take this from me.
Right. Because all the grandfathers are dying, and where apartments are getting smaller.
Yeah.
But I resonate with that because painting broken skateboards is like, let's recycle this garbage, and I like to paint boom boxes and toys. I'm not gonna say it's boring to paint a rectangle or a square canvas, but it's also just fun to paint things that are already beautiful and to work with the line work and the design that's already there and bring it forth and accentuate certain things.
Yeah, like a collaboration with somebody in a way where, a lot of these grandfather clocks do have at least some like hand-done elements, so it's cool to kind of play with that. And that's usually how I start them. I'll kind of accent what's there and then build off of that. So it's cool to see the like reclamation, and also like the whole purpose of the project kind of is like instilling that sense of reverie that paintings can often bring, like that sense of like wow and wonder, and putting that in like unexpected places. Like a big part of it was walls were completely covered with art, but it's like I had some hand-me-down furniture and all this like boring stuff, and I'd never really paid attention to those other objects in my house that I interacted with regularly that didn't provide me joy.
Right.
And I think it's an important push to have stuff like, a whole new appreciation for furniture and the objects, the chairs and the couches you sit on and the tables, and having those inspire you and having those be something that really like brings something in for you.
Right. Because like even like I like old school furniture, but sometimes it's just so boring in the one color, like, oh, brown wood color, and then that's that. But so when you paint it like all these different galactic colors, like, whoa, this is like, future, past, primitive. It's like you're bringing the past into the future and giving it a facelift. So I think it's pretty special. Yeah, I like what you do, man. What about your canvases? What's the subject matter of what you paint? Would you say your artwork is visionary, fantasy, psychedelic?
I often get like grouped in like the easiest way to describe it, people know, is like visionary art, but that hasn't been something that that I feel like super connected to that, as far as like, the use of, visionary art's often heavily associated with, psychedelic usage and that kind of mentality. And, while I do tap into that, I think my art like draws a lot more inspiration from dreams and familiar places, like familiar feelings and places where it's, I've really gotten into these, really like, I'll start most paintings with like a really loose landscape and really just like let myself be free and have fun and not worry and create these like spaces, from without reference, just kind of from my head, from a feeling, and it kind of evokes like a familiarity to it, where it's not a space that exists necessarily, but it's like an amalgamation of experiences, like a dream is. It's like, not that I could say what the hell a dream is, because I don't think we figured that out as humans. But
labels are tricky, and visionary is such a like an umbrella term that could have fantasy. I see your art and it's like, oh, that looks like more like a fantasy imagination land. That's not necessarily like a psychedelic interdimensional realm, but those are also psychedelic interdimensional realms. So it's hard to put a box into things, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it is hard to like box yourself in, and how, comes back to the same thing, like how do you define your art and what that is. It's like, it can be a tricky question to like put it into like one term and one movement, and who knows like what, if society like looks back on this movement and what it'll be recognized as, and what it'll be called,
So you were saying that your art's not inspired by psychedelics. So what does that mean? Do you not do psychedelics?
It's not necessarily not inspired by it. I've gone through a lot of periods of my life with psychedelics, and there was a point where it was a much more recreational thing for sure, and I was just doing it. That kind of led me into a spiritual path in ways, and it led me down a journey, and then it got to a point where it was kind of like I got the message, time to hang up the phone kind of deal. And I learned a lot from them, but at this current point of my life, I still, that's absolutely a part of me. And I hold that psychedelic mindset, that shift of perspective and looking at things differently, that's forever a part of me. But it's not the hugest part of me right now. I'm very focused on like a grounded, action-based approach to conveying these ethereal ideas, and kind of like, very much like, that's like I think psychedelics are kind of in like the loftier realm of consciousness versus a grounded realm, and I'm, at this point in my life, I'm in a very grounded realm of things.
Well, that's good. I always like, ponder in myself and to other friends, is like, how much psychedelics is it good to take as an artist? Because like, it seems like sometimes like some people just like do drugs to get all trippy and get vision and do a painting, which is a weird intention to do. It's almost like you're using those portals in order to do a better painting, which is a very mundane, weird reason, or it's your nature to want to go and do psychedelics and heal, and through that healing there's an expression that comes through it. So there's different ways to go about it, but also we can't just like fall back on our ghostwriter and be like, oh shit, if I don't do this, I'm not gonna come up with anything interesting because I'm just a boring person. You know, like it's good to just have your own juice and not need those portals,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, totally. And you know, and towards the tail end of really exploring psychedelics, you know, not that it's like the tail end, like it's over, but you know, I wasn't getting those lessons. I wasn't having those aha moments that initially led me to psychedelic medicines. Those moments where I really found myself and I really, you know, worked through things and really explored myself, really explored the world, explored like thought patterns and how things just like work all around. And it stopped providing that for me. It led me, instead of leading me closer to my true self, it started to pull me away from that. And I felt that, and you know, so I made the choice. And you know, not only that, but I gained like a profound respect for a lot of these things through experiences where it was maybe like, this will be fun, and then it was like, you know, boom, DMT God smack you in the face, and then it's like, okay, I have some work to do.
Yeah.
I gotta do some work, and then like maybe I can come back. And so now like,
it's not like you knock on his door the next day and he's like, dude, I just smacked in the face. What do you want? He's like,
go home.
Yeah. Go and do your work. Yeah, I find like you can just like, there's got to be a balance. There's a time to go into those realms, learn, and then you go back to being a fucking human in the physical world.
It's integration. It's like that's a step that can often be missed, I think. But it's so important. It's not only having those experiences, but also integrating them and really like taking those lessons. And like, I had this aha moment, and then you can either have that aha moment and then like, you know, trip out again, or you can be like, all right, I had this aha moment. Like, now what do I need to do in my life to lead myself closer to the end result of that aha moment? And like, what do I, you know, what are the steps to get me there? You know, whatever the lesson is, whether it's, you know, I need to get my shit together and I need to change this, and like, you can kind of like fall off, you know, you can come down and then slowly just like settle back into your normal routine, or you can be like, all right,
but from a more conscious point of view on who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and having, it's important to just to integrate, not just have that stuff shown to you and be inspired, but to I don't know, put the action behind it, put the work into the manifestation.
Right.
Which psychedelics kind of are like a manifestors. They like power up our brains in different ways where they create these things in our head. And so we've got to like take those acts of creation and then be the creators ourselves.
Right, totally. The real work is done in the physical realm from the lessons we learned. And if we keep on going, like even if it's positive psychedelics that are medicines, if we're just overdoing it, it just becomes escapism. And it's like, oh, I'm just gonna be a spirit, and I don't even know why I'm in this physical plane anymore, being a human. Might as well just pull the plug and go back to light and source. But I don't think that's why we're here.
Yeah.
But it's good to check in and be like, oh yeah, I am this soul, I am this piece of the whole.
Yeah.
But now let's go back to the environment I threw myself
and it's
in.
important to have a balance between those two, like
Right.
to have that connection to soul and that like truth and that that connectedness with the universe and the oneness and the simplicity of pure soul, and then that like the the complications of being here and being human, and it's like, why are we here? It wouldn't make sense just to like be completely lofty and disregard being a human and miss that human experience. Then it also doesn't make sense to just have a human experience and miss out on the lofty realm. Like it's a balance thing, and there's I don't think either way would be healthy, to be complete spirit or complete body. But I think it's something that ebbs and flows as we go through different phases of our lives. Kind of like some points it may be more of a connection to spirit, at some points it may be more of a groundedness, like connection to getting shit done, or getting grounded, getting setting roots, getting a house, feeding yourself really well, that kind of stuff. It's balance, always balance.
Nice. That's good. That's very healthy, and may it be a good example to the people that look up to you. So in your career, do you create what, I don't want to ask you about money too much because that's not super polite, but do you make products of your art other than the live painting and the paintings that you do and now art directing? Do you also have like a brand that you offer?
So I mean, I do make most of these kind of events. I'll bring like usually a painting, an original painting, and then mostly canvas reproductions. I don't really do too many paper prints, but I do have paper prints available like on my website, and I offer like all my artwork as canvas and paper. And then I have a clothing line with a company, My Culture. And it's I've always kind of hesitated on having myself too closely affiliated or like with licensing my stuff to other people, just because I like am the person
right there,
who wants to.
My Culture.
Yes, this booth right there. So for this festival, worked with them and we created a lot of the official merch for the festival.
Okay, nice.
Their work is dye sublimation gear. We do clothing, crushed velvet, polyester, full print stuff. Also hand fans and bucket hats and koozies and sometimes pins for events. But it's nice to be able to. They're really like the largest outpouring of like merchandise that I do, and it's so amazing to have, Josh and Jess, the people who are in My Culture, to have some like people who are really close to me and I know I can trust and really care about them as people, to be able to pass that off, because it's not easy to license, to hand off your brand and your name and your imagery to somebody and know that you're not going to be taken advantage of, to know that you can trust somebody, and really like it's a hard thing to do, and I've always had a hard time with doing that. So it's nice to be in a good place. It's and you have to have a lot of trust with that, and when these amazing things all around come down to having to make a living, it can get tricky, and that can complicate friendships. It can complicate business relationships. So it's always a dance with that. But it's something that you gotta, when it feels right, you gotta lean into it, and maybe it's right for then, and maybe it won't be forever, and maybe it will, and you just gotta like play it case by case. But it's it's nice to be able to have collaborators, and I think that's a big like growth barrier, like for me personally. One of the biggest things I see in like really expanding my art career is that seeing that need to really like bring on a team and have those people that I can like absolutely fucking trust, and like I would die for you kind of shit, like having those people
like Chris Morphis, Danny Sansone, that are the artists, but they also have their brand and they're right there in the mix.
Their crew, and they're a great example of like almost like franchising within this, where of course it would be great if you could be at every event and be everywhere all at once kind of deal, but realistically you can't. It's a big energy drain to be able to do that.
It's a lot of work.
It's huge. I mean, coming to festivals is, if you're on a tour, it's like that lack of groundedness for being on the road can really wear on you, and it can really zap creativity a lot of times.
Right, you can't let the brand overtake from the actual art making. It's nice to keep it separating. So I think it's good that you license with My Culture, and they can go and do the business and just give you your cut. And maybe the cut is smaller than if the brand was yours, but you don't have to think about like who's working for you. You don't have to worry about like putting money down to create the products. They do that. So that's a little bit more relaxing than having your own brand.
It is, for sure. And especially like I tend to have my hands in all these different places and mediums. So it's nice to have one thing allocated that I can really, really not have to worry about, like clothing. And I pretty much have, it's not like a complete, non-compete thing. Like there's nothing official, but it's a, mutual understanding that it's like, hey, I'm only gonna make stuff with you guys. So like
so it's kind of exclusive.
It's kind of exclusive. It's not completely formal. Like I've been, I'll do like one-off stuff, especially getting more into like fashion kind of stuff. Like I had a jacket made for the fashion show here, by Cream City Sauce, and it's it's a dye sub base, but it's like a one-of-one jacket, and I can't wait to see it. It's here somewhere.
They're cool. They always sell out their shit too.
Yeah,
they do well.
I'm excited to see it. It's like just super extra fur jacket, like a one-on-one kind of couture high fashion moment. So I think those kind of collaborations, or for like special products, and it's fun to do little things here and there and do licensing. But like clothing, as far as clothing, I'm like, don't want to go too far for this point, and have a piece with every booth.
Maybe at a different stage of your life, you might feel like focusing on doing your own brand, but for now this works for you, especially since you're busy trying new branches to your tree. Me myself, I used to do more like the focus on my brand, especially with Corey, who used to run it and go out to the festivals. That he didn't need me there, they would all do it. That didn't work out, so now I just license more, which for me is more relaxing. Now I don't have to look at who's doing what and numbers and investment. So I'm now going more like the direction of what you're doing. Yeah. Do you still work with Corey sometimes?
Yeah. He built my website, and he still fulfills my print orders and online, and always is there to help with like online presence. Built me a really nice website, and is always like on top of it with
nice.
With everything.
Cool. Well, sending much love to Corey. May things might have not worked out with us. Always wishing you the best in your future endeavors. Yeah. So, would you have any like big goals as an artist? Like do you have dreams where like, I want to do this big thing, or you're kind of like in a nice spot with your art and you're just gonna let it go where it goes?
I definitely have a few big goals. And I think that's important to have. I think the biggest one is back in my property. I'm going to start this whole like property, whatever this property becomes. I'm going to start it with building my like dream studio. I'm going to have like the ultimate setup where I just, create the perfect creation station for me, essentially.
Nice.
So there's that. I also want to make like a 100-foot grandfather, like a 100-foot grandfather clock. Like one of my objects, but like 100 feet tall.
100 feet tall?
Yeah, this.
Like as tall as a dinosaur?
Taller.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous.
Yes, but
you're gonna hang from it and spray paint or something?
I want there to be a swing in the middle, so you can be the pendulum and swing.
Be careful.
Yeah, I need an engineer and a lot of carpenters and certificates of insurance.
Okay. Cool. Sounds like an ambitious project, man. Yeah. Whenever I paint like a tall building, I get scared, man. Like those heights, and a boom lift only gets you so high. There's walls that you gotta get off this little basket and hang down. I don't know if I could do that. I might be too much of a pussy to do that. But good luck on doing that. Are you ready to hang from a little basket 100 feet tall?
I would like to paint it on the ground and then assemble it.
That's cheating.
Yeah, paint it. Yeah, right. You gotta get up there.
You gotta risk your life.
Yeah. Well, that's where like collaborating with people of other mediums comes into play, because there's people who like construction is their shit, and like baby Jesus in his manger, he was a carpenter. Sweet little thing. And it's always been a super admirable skill, and it's something that people are really passionate about. Like some of my favorite people in the world are carpenters, and it's that collaboration between different skill sets where it's not necessarily like direct art, but it's a different art form, an act of creation, and sometimes more of like a creative thing, sometimes more of a technical thing, and something like that would be something that require intense collaboration with somebody who really knows like engineering, and somebody who can make it safe, because I would never want my giant grandfather clock to like fall and smush someone, because then that'd be bad.
Like the Denver Bronco horse outside the airport.
that would be my act, my last act.
Yeah.
It's finished.
I did it! I'm the champion of art!
Oh no.
No, man. Well, I hope that doesn't happen to you, and I hope you achieve your artistic dreams. Okay, so a little bit more of a awkward question that I was wanted to ask. Can I ask you about your sexuality?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I am a proud as fuck gay man.
You're gay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I can handle that term.
Yeah, for sure.
I know it. I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
And that's something that, especially within this scene, is something that growing up, I found a home in this scene, and I always I always felt kind of othered from like the gay scene. And so I found myself in the festival world feeling really accepted. And then, well, like, you know, queerness is always accepted, has always kind of been accepted here. It hasn't been as celebrated and represented. And so now I'm trying to like be a part of this push to really like push that element and provide space for community, because like I've like realized the power of representation. And you know, I didn't see the psychedelic gay boy back then, and like so now I can be that example for somebody who feels like, you know, othered. You know, it's removed the representation. It will hopefully help anybody see somebody where they're like, I'm not alone, I'm not the only person like this. And that's super important, and that's been understanding representation a lot over the last years. That's been a big thing. And seeing the purpose of it has been huge. And
yeah, well, there's not like a lot of gay people in the visionary scene, and I've met them little by little. Like the first one to me was Kevin Campo from Quebec. I met him in Italy, and then he taught in Vienna, and he was a visionary painter. And there was Alex Polanco from Puerto Rico. I met him in Casa. And when I met you, I didn't know you were gay, which I didn't notice. But now it seems like you got a little contingency with you and Mystery Alias and Psychist. And it's like, oh shit, there's like this whole like, almost like a gang and stuff.
Yeah, totally. And it's been important for all of us, and we've the three of us have grown close from that, from like coming to these realizations together. And really wanting to like push that out there. And you know, there's like, we're trying to push that, and then there's like Recno, who was my one request for the lineup for this festival. I was like, Recno has to be there.
Who's Recno?
So Recno's a up and coming artist, I think originally from Michigan, but he is doing some real amazing work. Really like, in the last couple of years has come into like a gender fluidity of like, you know, rocking it on stage in a fucking cheerleader's outfit, and bringing like a like drag kind of energy almost, bringing performances. He's been collaborating with like a lot of drag artists on events like from that world, and providing that. So like I see the movement kind of happening, and I also see how hungry people are for it, and how cool it's been to paint this work and provide that space and see who shows up to that space and what they gather from it. You know, the times it's cool to be able to gather that community in a way and like connect with it and not feel othered. You know, it's like removing that whole like, I'm not like other girls, I'm not like other gays kind of mentality that the world instills in us. Like,
I don't understand the term othered.
So like feeling othered, like feeling, you know, disconnected from other people, feeling like you're not like other people because you don't see that example of yourself, and you just feel like you're alone, and that you're you know, fucked
like
up
a
in the
subset
head.
of
Yeah,
something.
like you feel like you're disconnected from society. You're othered from it. You're not a part of it. You're an outlier of it. And I think that's a feeling that permeates. You know, not just being not being a gay person or being a woman. You know, like like the whole I'm not like other girls idea, where it's like women grow up with this idea of like plasticity and fake and like this like bimbo ideal, so they're like, oh, I'm not like that, and so it's like an active disconnection from somebody who's really you're one and the same. Like I always felt like, oh, I'm not like other gay men, you know, and I had this whole reservation behind celebrating that part of myself, and I think in doing that I disconnected myself from my queer brothers, who I had so much more in common with than I'd realized, and I was really able to share experiences that I didn't think anybody else had ever had, and be able to find that common ground, stuff where I just kept it to myself and kept it quiet because I felt like I was an isolated case, a lone case, and I think it's just disconnection. That's the root of it, is like being disconnected from the general mass of people, and I think anything we can do to fight against that, and
Well, either way, you guys are a minority, because that's like, what is it, like 10, 20%?
Well, 10, 20% at this current point, But back to you saying like you recognize the term gay man.
Yeah.
I think our understanding of sexuality and gender is expanding,
Yeah.
and it can be hard to grasp.
Yeah.
But I think that the 10 to 20% is like, that's with the current state of acceptance and society and where that's at. There's places where it's okay and celebrated, like here in the States. There's places where you can be murdered for looking at a man, looking at somebody of the same gender the way.
Right.
So that's another reason why I think it's important to push that. It's an act of rebellion and an act of like standing up. And to have a platform where you can celebrate that. It's like good to be able to use it for those who are less fortunate and are not in as good of situations.
Is it difficult being LGBTQ, or is it like extra cool these days that it's being accepted?
I think it's rad. I mean, there's like, I fully enjoy, like, wouldn't change it. Didn't choose it, wouldn't change it. There is a lot of backlash in the world, and a lot of it's being given a voice by this whole like weird Trumpian era of assholes having a platform, and like Facebook, people just like weird niches of people feeling like they can hate other people for things that they can't control. But yeah, I mean, it's been difficult in ways, coming to terms and like a lot of the feeling othered stuff. But at this point, it's like I've, leaned into that community, and I'm kind of bridging the gaps between my communities and the communities that I'm part of. And I mean, finding a lot of joy and self-realization within celebrating that part of myself.
In uniting more to your queer brotherhood, do you feel it's a unifying thing? Obviously, it's unifying to that contingency or that grouping, but do you feel, does that separate you from what is not that? Or does that unite you with the oneness of humanity?
I think it further unites you because it's, it's the best thing you can do to like explore others is to like to really know yourself and explore yourself. So I think having that has allowed me to explore myself in a way that I'm able to show up as my truest self and really just be me. It's not like I'm boxing myself into that. It's, it's a part of me, and it is a defining factor, and there's a community, but there's like overlap, I don't think it's an othering thing.
Okay, yeah, I hope so too. I'm observing it. I think I made out with a man once, but I'm not gay. Thailand. But yeah, I don't want anyone to be sad, and I hope that everyone can just like love and accept each other with whatever way they wanna express themselves and whatever color, culture, sex they are. I hope that we can all just kind of like let each other be eventually.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible.
I feel like we're getting there in some ways, and there's like a huge expansion of that, that ideology. And it's interesting. It's like we're all here to explore it. I like to think that humanity is progressing towards being more accepting of others. I like to think that that's the trend. I mean, especially you look at like what life would have been like 100 years ago to be on this earth, and it's like, whoa, very, very different place. So how far we've come in that time, and then, hopefully in another 100 years, hopefully sooner, it'll get a lot better.
I want to see the world heal up in my lifetime.
Yeah.
It seems like it, and this could all be perception thanks to media, that we're more divided than ever, but there also seems like the minds are opening more than ever.
Yeah, I think it's almost a matter of like, we were so close to like squishing out a lot of this stuff, this like racism and bigotry and hatred. We were so close to it, and then because of things in the political sphere and everything's become like a politicized issue. It's given a voice to this like, to this thing. Like it's okay to express it, and it's almost a reaction to it being squashed out. That it's like maybe it's like a loud cry towards the end where it's like, I'm almost dead. I hope so.
Well, maybe we should observe that creature as the way they observed you guys at some point. They were all like, oh, these gay people are like this evil contingency that I don't understand. Maybe we're observing them too, the racist people, as like, oh, soon they shall be eradicated and there won't be any more. But they is like, but I exist too, and I'm trying to have pride in my stupidness. I don't know, but they exist.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
How can we honor that existing thing as much as we don't agree with it? Obviously, they don't agree with you guys, and we don't agree with them. But how can
Yeah, like
we
where-
even accept that?
where
It's a weird
where
question.
is, you know, not a Christian, but where is Jesus in Donald Trump? You know, it's like where is the that, like, you know, if we're all one and we're all this like unified consciousness, different explorations of it, where is that pure light in these things that seem so hateful? And like, where, you know, if everything is holy and this whole experience is you know, holy, then where is the, yeah, where, like, where is it in the things that seem so opposite? Because I'm, you know,
Well, I'm trying to observe this entity of racist people and anti-gay people. What's the name of people who are afraid of gay? Homophobic people.
yeah.
As an entity I would have living in my body when I do ayahuasca. And I know I got my fear. I know I got my bullshit. And I don't want to go at it like, fuck you, why you live in me? Like, get out of here, I don't honor you. And like, in a way, sometimes I just like, I gotta maybe like go in there and like hug that motherfucker and be like, okay, you exist, I honor you, I'm gonna give you all my love. I don't know if I can kill you. You perhaps have a right for existence, and all I can do is love you and like surrender to the fact that you exist, and maybe in that it shall like pass and just leave.
Yeah, and
I don't
think
know.
that's the answer. Like with with some people that I've met, like I've been friends with, you know, I was like their first gay friend, and they were like so sorry, and they were like, wow, you know, they were like homophobic before in ways, and it's just, I think a lot of those things come from just like a lack of experience with it and conditioning. So it's, you know, whether it's an environment or just what you've been portrayed, that these people are what you've been told. So you know, you have to honor that these people maybe aren't just hateful, but it's just idealism that's been bred. And it's not about killing these people, it's about killing these ideas.
Right.
And I think it's part of that.
Or healing them. There must be a way, because that mentality of separation or fear comes from some wound. It might not even be their wound. Maybe the wound of their father or their grandfather that they were passed on and programmed, and there is that programming, and somehow we gotta go in there and not like, you're wrong for having that wound and programming. Like, how can we like be kind? Like, I don't know the answer, but there must be a way we can do it with love, because when we attack and you say like, you're bad now, they just put up their defenses.
Yeah, it polarizes for
Yeah.
sure. It's, you know, I think that is the way to move forward, is, you know, with love and like the idea of trying to have those conversations and talk together, and some people are willing to. You know, I you know, hopefully people get there, because it's a weird thing to hate other people without knowing them, you know, like to lump people into a group, and like, you know, there's just a lot of weight and a lot of baggage that can come with that.
Right.
It's hard to unpack sometimes. You know?
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me ask you these difficult questions. So a little bit of a lighter question that Abby, and breakfast, I was having my coffee with Abby, and you guys being roommates, like, what should I ask him? And she was asking me, what's your spirit animal?
You know, that has several answers. I would say I connect with different spirit animals at different points. Currently, the thing, like, that I feel like the animal that I feel most connected to is a baby goat.
A baby goat?
A baby goat. Goats. They're super fun. They do parkour. They like jump around. They're just like a free.
They do yoga.
Yeah, they do yoga. They do parkour. They're hardcore. That's.
Have you ever done yoga with goats?
No, and it's.
That's
yeah.
a thing.
It's a thing, and
So weird.
honestly, we gotta bring that here next year. I think that would be a hit here.
Wow.
Like goat yoga at the tent.
Goat yoga. That's awesome. Well, congrats on the work that you've brought into this festival. Thank you for doing this conversation with me, even though you're in the middle of the thick of it. Would you have some final words of wisdom to anyone who's watching this show with us?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the best thing to do in your life is be you, and to, move forward and step into authenticity more and more every day. Be your absolute truest self, because that is the best thing you can do for the world, for anyone, is to be you and explore what being you is and who you are.
Well, thank you so much, Gavin. I love you, brother.
Love you.
Woo, thank you for having me over here. And thank to you guys for watching another week of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Blessings! And thank you to you guys for watching too. Look at all these beautiful artists. Thanks, brother. I love you. I'm happy with it. Next episode, Roger Dean.
People think that when you're painting, you pick up a paintbrush and you start and you work till you finish. That's never been my experience. My experience is probably 80 or 90% of the time, I'm staring at it and imagining what it will be. Sometimes I know in advance, sometimes I don't know even when it's finished. It's a fugitive experience. It's not a solid, definable one.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Big thanks, and see you next episode. Peace.